Hello, everybody. Welcome to Captive Audience, and Don Henderson, your host here. But there's another familiar face that I'm sure you'll recognize. Sonny's back. Sonny, we're so glad to have you back and welcome aboard, even if just temporarily. What thoughts do you have for the team out here?
Well, thank you, Don, for asking me to come on in here tonight. And it is wonderful to pop in every now and then. So, as Kevin called me, I'm the South Florida correspondent. So-
Well, we love somebody to come in and tell us what it feels like to be in a non-communist state, a
oh,
place where there's not a
man.
civil war. So you'll have to give us a little bit of a feeling about what that feels like along at some point in time as well.
You bet. Well, I'll tell you, it's night and day from Oregon and
Mhm.
Washington, because I know you're in Washington, and it really is. It's wonderful. It is wonderful. Everything works. It works. I mean, anyway,
Yeah.
you-
When you call the police, they come. There's
yes.
nobody going to the bathroom on the sidewalk. You
I'm
mean that
not
kind of
seeing
stuff?
any riots, those peaceful demonstrations with the fire in the background. We're not seeing any of those. Oh yeah, it is.
Nobody's eating the cats and dogs.
No, no,
You can't
it's
make it up, sports fans. You can't make it up.
no, no.
Boy,
It's
well, I
wonderful.
had an opening rant I would like to walk through, maybe 2 or 3 minutes, and then we
Oh
can
yeah,
roll into all this other great stuff. If that's okay with you, Sonny?
of course.
Okay, here's my opening rant, and I just wrote this in one of my last dad rants. So some of you may have seen it, but here goes. So you got to ask yourself this question: Who are we? I mean, precisely what is the United States of America? I think it's based on three principles. The first one being the Constitutional Republic, written by James Madison; the free market economics, written by Adam Smith with his book, The Wealth of Nations; and finally, the bedrock principle is the culture, which is Christianity. And that book, of course, is the 40 authors who wrote the 73 books that we basically call the Bible, right? But the most important of those three principles is the principle of Christianity. And the reason I say that is because religion equals culture, culture leads to behavior, behavior leads to results. So let's speak to the evidence around why I would say that. Think about the people who are in the non-West who flee to the West. The average GDP, if we're going to measure results, and we use gross domestic product as a measure of results you're getting. So Pakistan, $1,600 a year. India, $2,300 a year. China, $13,000. Bangladesh, $2,000. Sudan, $580. Yeah, you got that right, by the way. The average citizen of Sudan makes $580 a year, right? Now let's go to the Western countries. The United States, $66,000 a year. Great Britain, 52,000. Germany, 55. Canada, 44. Australia, 64. So if we use per capita income as a rough measure of wealth, the data demonstrates that the average American has 113 times the purchasing power of the average Sudanese citizen. That four out of the five make less than $3,000 a year in those non-Western countries. And when I say non-Western, by the way, we really mean is religion, non-Christian countries. And in those countries, it's no surprise that they really underperform that way, because in those countries with those non-Christian religions, if you're going to make the analogy to sports, 50% of the population can't play in their game. That is women. Women ain't even really allowed to play. So 50% of the talent's out of the game. Gays, out of the game. People from lower caste system, out of the game. Wrong clan, not in the game. Your family's a slave, not in the game, right? So they're playing the game without most of the talent on the field. It's no wonder they can't produce stuff like running water, electricity, garbage services, inventions, buildings that don't fall down. They're playing the game without the talent on the field. And the only religion that really allows all the talent to be on the field is Christianity, because it's the only religion that views human life and the value of the individual as paramount. None of the other ones do it. And if you can't have freedom of speech, if I don't value you as an individual, so it's just amazing. You look at how Christianity is not just about a better life when you leave this one. It's about having a better life now. And the countries that use that as their basis all work better. And if you don't believe that, what direction does immigration go? They leave those places and they come here. They don't leave here and go there. So there's my opening rant. I think the evidence is beyond refute, so or dispute. So let me stop. And thoughts, anyone out there, Sonny?
Wow. Wow. I'll tell you, I had no idea. Those are some amazing statistics that you just gave. And, I think people in America, especially people that, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but there's so many Americans that haven't been anywhere within, beyond 50 miles of where they grew up, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But having traveled, there are so many places, and I've certainly not been anywhere, everywhere, but we are so spoiled in this country, and with the rights that we have, that our government has actually been working for the people. And the island of Hispaniola is a very good example, where half of it is Haiti, where their government has not been truly working for the people to make their lives better. And the other side is the Dominican Republic, and they're like night and day. And yet it's the same piece of land, and they used to look the same. One is barren and one is not. And I think people in America, I know that I used to think that, every place is like this, and it isn't. And we are so fortunate to have what we have, and how our form of government, that we don't have a caste system. And as you so greatly put it, we have all the team players playing, and anybody can make anything of their life that they choose. When you see people that have started from nothing in this country, and I'm trying to think of his name. Oh gosh, the brain surgeon.
Oh, right. I know you're talking about. Yes.
And so
Benjamin
Carson, Dr. Carson. Yes.
Right.
So here is a person who came from the projects, a very poor family, raised by a mom, and lifted himself up because that was his goal. Now, there's others that helped him along the way, of course, but this country proves that anybody can be what they would like to be. And it's interesting from a Christian perspective, because I'm trying to think of other countries that I've been to that aren't necessarily Christian. And I think, wow, that's interesting. And, because I hadn't looked at it in that perspective at all.
Yeah, it's an interesting. It dawned on me maybe a couple of months ago. Now, you could make a case for Japan, right? For example, or South Korea, right? And there's some reasons which are a little beyond the scope of this discussion, right? But basically, the vast majority of the countries that have a performing GDP, they are Christian, and let's be blunt, the ones that underperform are Islam. And in Islam, they make it very clear that certain portions of the population can't play.
Absolutely.
And the same thing is true of India with the caste system. Yeah, they say they don't have it anymore, but trust me, it's still in force. And if you're born into a certain caste, you're just going to be a ditch digger, a grave digger, or working in sewage for life. That's how it rolls. And they only promote people within their clan. We see that in this country when they immigrate here. They only hire people in their own companies that work for themselves. I mean, so you never get the best talent can never rise to the top because it's all like wired that way. Now that's not to say that what we see in our country is perfect, but because of the Judeo-Christian principle, so much further beyond any of the other ones that's not even close. And I think this is something that we feel I call it drawback of Christianity is we don't want to be triumphalism is what they call it. We don't want to come across as offensive or be mean or tell people we're better or any of that stuff. Right. But at some point, if you are going to defend what you have, You need to say what you have and be proud of that. And those three things, the rule of law, constitutional republic, free markets, got to have those. Those two can't work, though. And if you think about it, it's logical. They can't work if you don't have a culture where people are going to behave a certain way. Um, and little things. You go to Mexico, what do you got to do? Everybody knows it. What do you have to do when the cop pulls you over? Well, you got to bribe them. It's just
Hey, mordida.
it's hardwired. It's hardwired in everything.
Yeah,
And
it is.
all these other countries around the world are pretty much like that, with the exception of the Western ones. And this is funny, not you're in Florida, I can speak to this. It's true not just outside the United States,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
true inside the United States. So those blue cities that underperform, they underperform because they practice Christianity less. So if I'm in Memphis, I'm much more likely to have, like, from a woman, 5 or 6, baby mamas running around with 4 or 5 different dads, right? And what's the destruction that results from that? Well, there's going to be a lot more crime. There's going to be a lot more prison time. There's going to be a lot more welfare. The whole system will underperform, and it's underperforming because of behavior. And behavior is driven by culture, and culture comes from religion, because religion establishes the rules of conduct in any society. Whether you claim you're practicing it or not, you're in that society. You behave by that society's morals, mores, I should say. It's a pretty interesting argument. I can't come up with anything that would rebut that.
That is interesting, and it's actually the perfect segue into the State of the Union last night,
It is indeed.
because as Lori has said here, look at what the Democrats did last night. Trump is preaching, speaking about the wonderful and the good things in America and the accomplishments. And to see the hockey team so patriotic, oh my gosh, it just brought tears to my eyes, and that might start flowing again. Who knows? But
We're
it's
old enough to see two hockey teams, by the way. We got to
yeah,
see two great presidents and two great hockey teams. How did that
yes,
happen?
I know it. Well, God is how that happened. But, so it was astounding, in listening to Trump's speech, and for him to say, I think we can all agree, that we want the best for Americans. If everybody who wants to support the United States citizens, stand up. And you had the Democrats sitting there, and he waited and he waited. He let that moment, the weight of that moment of the Democrats, it showed we've seen the color of their hand. We've seen their hand already. Their actions show it all the time.
Mhm.
But that was amazing, because these are people that have all sworn an oath to uphold our Constitution. They're supposed to be representing their constituents for the betterment of their constituents. And here they are, 100%. They are all for the illegal immigrants and not for the betterment of our nation. It is all of our nations. It's not just the Republicans' nations or the Democrats' nation. It is all of us.
Mhm.
And yes, Lori just said they expose themselves.
Yeah.
They've been exposing themselves, but a lot of people are not willing to look at that. And I did not watch the alternative news to see how they portrayed any of that. I heard plenty of rhetoric today as I was working, and somebody was watching television, and so I could hear, and I just roll my eyes, because of the Democrat talking points and whatnot. But I believe they are really a minority of the people, especially when it comes to 83 or 86% of the American population want to have ID to vote and citizens voting, and the Democrats will not pass it.
Yeah. 73% of Democrats want it. I mean,
Yes,
73% of Democrats want it.
yes.
They are out of line with their own party, which goes to say it's the progressive wing of the Democratic Party that's taken it over.
Yes.
The JFK wing has been like buried and stomped on. It has no representation. It's the progressive wing, and they run the thing, and they basically created the ad that Republican candidates can use between now and November by doing
100.
that. That is like, you think about it, this is like the last major opportunity where literally probably 100 million eyes are watching. Now, there's going to be the other opportunities, of course, where Trump's going to be campaigning, and he's going to be here, and he's going to be there. But where everybody's watching a event, this is the State of the Union,
Yeah.
and they showed us exactly who they are. They showed us their character. They showed us what they really stand for, or at least sit for. We know who they are. They made it absolutely 100% undeniable. It's so, and obviously that was well thought out to do those things by
Yes.
Trump too. That was
Of
brilliant.
course. Of course. But you know, they did rise on some occasions, but it was very disappointing that they don't rise for a little girl who has been, beaten by an accident by an illegal immigrant. But there was so many moments to be so proud of with what Trump did and how he laid this out, from giving the Congressional Medal of Honor to a centenarian,
I couldn't believe that. I mean, Korean War, what, World War II. How bad was that guy? I
to
mean,
two
that
pilots, to two pilots, kick-ass pilots, right?
I
The
mean,
young one and who got shot up and
yeah.
saved everybody and still did his job, and
Mhm.
and then the retired one,
Mhm.
the centenarian. Oh my gosh.
The hatred of the country that the progressive left has, um, it's been that way for a long time, but it used to be housed only in the university crowd, right?
Yes.
When you and I were kids, that's where it was. But they've grown up, graduated, and they've expanded their poison throughout a significant portion of the population. And that's who they represent. But fortunately for us, the majority is not there. And I'd love to use that stat. We talked about this when Biden debated Trump, and everybody could see the guy had lost his mind, and they polled it, and they said 33% thought Biden did fine. I said, that's the number. So 33% are beyond reach. Let's not even talk about that. So there's 67% that you can talk to and win, right?
But that's today. That's today of voters, right? What
Mhm.
is scary is the indoctrination that we're seeing happening in our schools,
Mhm.
getting the kids to do these anti-ICE protests. Talk about full-blown indoctrination of hating your country
Yeah.
and the rule and authority.
Mhm.
Oh my word.
Well, you
But
would think, yeah. In states where, in cities, I should say, where kids can barely read and write, couldn't spell cat if you spotted them to CA, and they got them outside the classroom, like protesting in the streets. It's like you would think if the parents had half a brain in those places, they would go berserk. How are we spending time out here? I mean, this is regardless of your political
yeah,
point of view. I
yeah,
mean, I'd be
it
outraged
is.
that my kid was outside of the classroom and not learning, the three R's, right? And B, that you did it without asking me. I mean, it's just outrageous on multiple levels. And these are the reasons why I personally think that sending your kid to public school is suicidal anymore. We can work to change it. And for a certain percentage of the population, I don't want to say they're stuck with it because they can't get their head around other options, right? But for those, we need to introduce competition to the system through a voucher program. But for everybody else, yeah, get your kid out of there as fast as you can. If you got grandchildren, find a way to help out the kids, help out your kids, not be in that.
It's true. And but and I think for whether you have children in the schools or not, I think being active in the school boards
Mhm.
and go and pressure the schools. The
Yeah.
way they need more people that are willing to take a stand and speak up at school board meetings and cause a ruckus, because it today through social media, there is the possibility of so much public pressure.
Mhm.
Libs of TikTok is a perfect example of that because she highlights somebody and wham, they're fired. Or the principal has said, oh, sorry, we're not going to ever do that again. I want to keep my job,
Mhm.
but let's go back to the State of the Union. It
Mhm.
was so magnificent last night.
Yeah.
Trump, I thought was, somebody made the comment as I was listening earlier today. The last State of the Union, he wore a different color tie. He
Mhm.
wore a red tie last night.
Mhm.
And there was so much speculation about, oh, he's going to slam the Supreme Court or he's going to, really wipe the floor with the Dems, but he didn't.
Mhm.
He made a comment. I loved it when he said, "You are sick. These
Yeah.
people are sick," you know? And I mean, because how could you not stand
Yeah.
anyway?
Well, see, I'm like, I like the fact that, yes, obviously these guys have a script. You a 2 hour speech, you got some kind of a script, but he goes off of it and injects who he is. And one of the things I've always liked about him, and this has upset a lot of people about him, but I really like it, is the New Jersey street brawler in him. We have had a plethora of sissies on the Republican side. We've
Yes.
had the McCains, we've had Romney, we've had Bush, we've had Dole. These guys all begging and slobbering and trying to be nice and getting kicked in the face and stomped and all day long. I am sick of it. And when he came along and he was a slugger, I was like, oh, that's my guy. That's my guy. And whenever I have friends who say, oh, I hate that he's so mean, this is pretty much I tell them, I don't care. I'm glad. I had enough. I had enough. Those people have asked for a fight, and we have tried everything in the world to be nice. And what have we gotten? We gotten shot at literally.
We
That's what
got the shaft is what we got.
we've
We
gotten.
got shafted. All of our jobs went overseas thanks to NAFTA. We got shafted.
Uh,
And
you look at what
frankly,
these people did. They slapped a mask on your face, forced you to get a jab or lose your job. I mean, it has been horrible. Throwing older ladies in jail because they're protesting across the street from like an abortion clinic. The whole J6 fiasco.
praying silently.
Praying silently. I mean, what parents who go to a school board meeting are like communists, throw them in jail because they're like a threat. Uh, you can't
And
speak
the
on social media.
J6, you mentioned the J6.
The J-
That is a crime that I'm still waiting to see some heads roll over.
Yeah, I mean, the things that they have done that are so evil, and we keep sitting around trying to be nice to these people. We got to start. We are at war. Um, it's asymmetrical, right?
Yeah.
In that it's not like we're used to war. We get the tanks and stuff. We fly over to Europe and like we kick butt and take names, right? It ain't that kind of war. And we need to gird our loins, as they say in the Bible, for a different kind of a war and stop rolling over and that doesn't mean be mean and do what they do, but it means be principled and
Yeah.
engage.
We must be, because this is a color revolution that is trying to happen or is happening in the United States. The chaos is all by design. Everything that they're doing is by design. It is the radical Democrats that have taken over their party. I still believe it is such a minority, a very small number of people are the radicals. All these protests, those are all paid. They are funded by deep pockets.
Yeah.
And it is not the norm. It's not organic at all. These protests and the riots. Now, to have the children do it, that is the union.
Yeah.
So Trump, I appreciate him taking it all head on, because that's what he's been doing. For me, I wasn't looking for a brawler. I'm glad we got one, but I was looking for a businessman who would run this country in more of a business fashion. I can't believe the fraud that they're still finding, and they're going to go. And now he's made JD Vance. I had an opportunity to listen to JD Vance being interviewed this morning,
Mhm.
And Trump made him in charge of looking for the fraud.
Mhm.
And it's going to be the whole of government. They have many, many ways of finding this waste, fraud, and abuse. And
And see that
we might have a balanced budget when they find all of this. You
I
know,
know. Well, I knew it was bad, but I had no comprehension until last year that it was this bad. I mean, it is like that just Minnesota, and we all know California is probably 5 times worse than that just because of
yes,
the size of the state. But you think about and I heard someone say, what was it? They have a term for this. They're talking about Somalians and their value system. It's a not truthful, it's a low trust culture. This
yes,
goes back to what I was just talking about earlier.
yes,
It's that non-Christian culture. It's not. That's a nice way of putting it. It's a thieving, conniving culture.
mhm,
That's the culture that cannot and it will not and it will never assimilate here. And
right,
one of the hard truths we need to get back to. So back in the early 1900s, when we had the Ellis Island immigration, you know, yeah, it might have come across as racist or whatever, but they were very strict about who got to come in, and those people who came had a culture similar to the one that was already here, basically Judeo-Christian, to be blunt. When you start bringing in tons of people who don't have that, it will not assimilate. It is antithetical to
yes.
Christianity, and that's not just a thing we say. They don't have the behaviors necessary to do it because lying, cheating, thieving, and conniving is a natural part of what they do.
Yeah, it is. I was in Venezuela
Mhm,
and I watched an accident happen. And I'm not saying that all Venezuelans are like this, but there's going to be a lot.
mhm,
And I watched a car accident happen between a scooter and a car.
mhm,
I mean, they put the whole family, it's 5 people sitting riding on a scooter,
mhm.
and anyway, it was sad seeing this accident. But what appalled me, and you see people running over, you think they're there to help. They were there to rip them off.
Yeah,
Grab their wallet, grab the purse. They're ripping them off. And I saw that and I was like, holy cow. I would, that's like the furthest thing from my mind. I've never seen anything like that in America, ever, ever, ever. And yet here is this. This is exactly what you're talking about. And I have Venezuelan friends.
mhm,
Doesn't mean they're all like that.
mhm.
Doesn't mean but there is are people that are just, Ellis Island was about vetting,
Yeah,
you know, it was the vetting for diseases,
mhm,
and if they had enough money to come into here,
mhm,
and whatever the criteria were, right?
mhm,
Because they did quarantine people,
mhm.
and anyway, it's
Well, yeah, well, you can't just let anybody in. I mean, you can't like let them in and have them raise their right hand and like, and say they're good to go and they can say the Pledge of Allegiance and they become American citizens. It's not that. You have to like know the language fluent. It's up to me, the requirement would be fluent English. If you can't speak fluent English, you're out. I mean, that is like the baseline thing. And then after that, um, I'm sorry, it's got to be from Western Christian countries, right? And in limited volume at that. Because whenever you bring in large quantities who aren't that, they're not. It takes a whole 20 years to raise a kid. It takes 20 years to get a culture. And it's a ton of little things that you don't think about, like how close you stand when you talk to somebody, right? Where the eye contact is, how you shake a hand, do you hold the door open for somebody or not? There's a zillion things you get just as a part of being here. And you bring people in who don't have any of that. And I didn't even talk about the big stuff. I mean, little stuff like I was listening to one other speaker talking about a bunch of these immigrants from other countries come in, and the grocery store parking lot's a disaster. Grocery carts all over the place, people walking the wrong side of the aisle, trash in the grocery cart when you go get the grocery cart, cars abandoned in the lot because that's the norm where they come from. They're not going to come here and just like flip.
no. No, in fact, I'll give you another cultural shock that I had. I was in Ecuador. I love Ecuador. Spent almost a year there, And but I was in a mall. My husband and I, we were in a looks like any modern mall, you know, beautiful floors and whatnot. But the people there chew coca leaves, and so therefore they spit a lot. And they had people permanently mopping the floor in a mall. Now you would not think, you know,
Inside. They
you're
spit
not
inside.
gonna hawk loogies in a mall on the floor. You might do it
Inside.
outside. Inside, mopping the floor is like, oh my gosh, you can't get it out of the people, you know? I
Yeah.
mean,
Well, you've
those
seen the
are
pictures.
cultural differences.
Yeah. You've seen the pictures from India.
Yes.
And I know some immigration in like into London has been like massive amounts of Indians, right? You go to India and the rivers are so filthy you can almost walk on them. The streets just filled with garbage. So that whole Christian tradition of for what they call it, stewardship, they don't
Yes.
have that, right? And so
Yeah.
as a result, you just throw stuff wherever it is, and the places are absolutely filthy, and they bring that with them. Now you might say, "Well, Don, that's racist." It's not. It's reality.
It is reality. I've witnessed that myself, and yeah, I've witnessed these things, you know, and some of the different cultures that I've been in,
Mhm.
and I'm not going. You know, they say when in Rome, do as the Romans. Well, some of those things I'm not going to
Mhm.
do. You know, just
Yeah,
no,
I don't
thank
think
you.
we want you to do that either. It's
But but at the same time, I know
yeah, it's
I try to also represent our country in my
uh-huh,
travels, you know, and show them a nice American instead of
uh-huh,
a nasty American, because I've seen plenty of them in my
uh-huh.
travels as well.
Yeah.
But
Well,
you know, Trump knocked it out of the park last night.
yeah.
He
Oh,
knocked it out of the park. He did call out the Somalians,
uh-huh.
and I saw somebody sitting next to oh, what's her name? Not AOC, but
Crazy one from
yeah,
Minneapolis.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. I'm glad I can't think of her name right now. But anyway, you know, and I and
mm,
oh, talking of my country. Well, you know what? If the shoe fits, because she is has illegally, it's purported that she's, you know, gotten her immigration in an underhanded way,
mhm.
and has made plenty of money in our Congress, and she frankly should just be exported.
Oh, can you imagine having a guest come to your house and then like destroy your house and then talk bad about you on top of that? So
Yes.
you're giving this guest free rent and you're giving them food, you're treating the kids nice, and you come home and they've defecated in your front yard, tore your front yard, your kitchen up, dishes are splattered all over the place, dropped the engine in the front yard, toilet bowl planter on the front yard, right? And then they're going to dog you for being nasty and terrible person. That's
Yes.
essentially what we have here. I thought
Yeah.
you'd like this. So the Statue of Liberty is our advertisement for coming into the country, right? So
Yeah.
the base on the inscription. So here's what it reads right now. I think we should change it. What it reads now is, "Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to be free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these the homeless tempest tossed to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door." I think we should change it, my friend. You ready for this, Sonny? Here's
I'm
my
ready.
here's my proposal. "Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled Christian masses yearning to be free from atheistic communism, Eurosocialism, Islamofascism, narco-terrorism, the caste system, and ruled by progressive elites. Send these tempest tossed to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door." Don't you think that would be better? That's what we want.
It is what we want. It is what we want. And you know, and the reason people are willing to risk their life to come to this country is because of the greatness of our country. And we have a lot of spoiled brats in this country that have no clue, and that just are speaking ill of our country, speaking ill of our military and our police when they're just trying to do their job. You know, it was appalling watching this, the police in New York getting hit with snowballs, ice balls, I might
I heard
add.
that in the radio. I didn't see it. I heard it on the radio coming home today.
I saw it, and these poor people, you know, They're policemen and women trying to do a job. They're citizens. This is who, when you dial 911,
Mhm.
this is who comes.
Well, my mommy said they were just playing, though. He's not going to get involved because it was a snowball fight. That's all.
No, the police were not throwing snowballs. They were getting pummeled in the face, in the head. Yeah, it was, and actually, the mayor or the governor, Kathy Hochul,
Mhm.
said that is not acceptable on any level. And so I do say kudos to her for
Mhm.
saying that when the mayor would not.
Yeah, that's well, I don't even know what to say. Well, New Yorkers, you voted for him, so now you got to suffer the consequences.
Yeah, and then him saying that you've got to form if we need volunteers to shovel snow and you have to bring two forms of ID. And yet they don't want to pass voter ID. My
you,
God, you can't make this up.
you can't make it up. You can't make it up. If there's any one issue is going to doom them, I think it's that one. There's lots of them, but it might be that one. Um,
I'll tell you, there's a lot. They don't have anything going for them except the chaos that they are creating.
yeah,
That's it's all on purpose. There's a reason,
yeah.
and we have to keep fighting. We have to keep fighting, and I thank God every day that we have our fighter in Trump, and
Yeah.
in God that is helping him to fight for this country and all of the citizens that are very
Well,
much.
we very much our work is definitely cut out for us, but we definitely dodged a bullet. I still marvel at how bad that last 4 years was, and how the country was able to somehow survive that. Um, it's no telling how much further they would have taken it. I mean, there's little things. You realize Iran was like that close to having nuclear weapons, and if that clown had stayed in office another 4 years, they probably would have gotten him.
As Trump says, our country was dead.
Well,
And it's true. It's true. Many people don't. I believe that we were right next door to losing this country, and we have to fight for it. And you know what? I don't. I'm not offended by what Trump says. People want to say, "Oh, I don't like what he says," or that. You know what? I want the results.
yeah.
We have to have the results,
Mhm.
and we have to everything that he's doing is for the betterment of our nation. It's not for the betterment of himself, or his family.
Mhm.
And everybody, I'll tell you, the administration that he has put together,
Mhm.
what a group of patriots
No.
fighting, sacrificing, and
Mhm.
fighting for our country. And his last administration during Biden, they were all targeted. Anybody who was on his that worked for him and that were all targeted. And we cannot be afraid. We
Well, I
have
think,
to
yeah.
fight and speak up and not be afraid.
Well, the beautiful thing about his administration is he learned a lot from the first time around. The first time around, he had people that were recommended to him. He didn't really know them, that sort of thing. He trusted them, and they were all members of the deep state. They were they were government officials. This time around, he handpicked people who were loyal. And you look at the number of people who have been burned by this government too, so they were loyal. So RFK, he got booted from the Democrat Party. Tulsi Gabbard basically got roasted, couldn't even get through an airport with these people, right? So you have a bunch of people who were completely bought in. So he doesn't have any leaks. You look at the things that he's done that had to be leak proof to work, like that the bombing of the Iranian reactors, that had to be bulletproof. The getting the guy out of Venezuela, Maduro, had to be bulletproof. This last operation in Mexico that just happened, a couple of days ago, those things had to be leak proof, bulletproof to work. And the press can't anticipate anything
No,
because they're getting played, just like they got played last night during that talk, and they're being played now. Look at the timing of how the Epstein stuff is coming out at just the right time. So we're like all wanting this to come now. No, no. You want this to come out in time for the election, right? You want people to be thinking and talking about that stuff through the summer. We're all anxious. We want to see the heads roll
Right.
now, but you know what? No, we want
Yeah.
all that stuff to like crescendo, just the right time. And I think it's just playing out beautifully, and I think it's strategic.
Well, I think so too. I believe that there is a plan, and timing is everything, especially in politics,
Mhm.
and there's a drip, drip, drip that's happening. And another, I don't know, some professor at a university, resigned today. I don't know who it was or where it was. I just remember hearing about it. Maybe he was even the dean. I don't know.
Mhm.
I just went, oh, there goes another one, Epstein's, you know, the pedophiles,
Yeah,
the
another one of these.
yeah, sick,
Yeah,
sick
this guy,
bastards, I
was it
gotta say.
was it Norway or what country was it? Was it Great Britain? Another one of those guys is getting prosecuted, right? And these things keep dripping out. Let them drip like that all through the summer.
Yeah,
You got the Clintons. They're having to like testify. You just go testify, right? Just always people showing us exactly who they are. Because one thing we are as Americans, our memories are short. So we need to have that stuff fresh for them in time for the election. Um,
true,
the
true.
impact of all of the tariffs, that's going to start to crescendo about this summer. We're already seeing it, but all those plants being built, all those jobs. Look at the tax returns; those are going to hit what at the end of April, middle of April. So people are going to start getting their money from that. They're going to know where it came from. Um, it's, I think, it's timing out just right.
Well, I think so, and I'll tell you, we've got some brilliant people Trump has, picked. Think of the billionaires that are going, "We wanna make a difference. We
Mhm,
wanna make a difference and help our country."
mhm.
And then you have those like Bill Gates, that's just a worthless man, in my opinion. I
And
wish I could.
look what's happening with him. He's
Yes,
getting called out. I mean,
yes.
he
There's a
just
lawsuit, I think it's in Norway,
mhm,
and, yeah, he is, and there's a lot to clean up, and it's, worse than we can imagine, but we've got the right president that's doing it, and we must keep the Senate and gain if we can, and we must keep Congress.
yeah,
It's a must, and more people are saying, "Well, I'm not gonna run for reelection." And, I really truly hope that there are good people that are stepping up. I know
mhm,
that Trump has endorsed a lot of people.
mhm.
And in fact, the other day I was driving and I heard he says, "I've pulled that endorsement. Nope, not doing that anymore. I've changed to this other one." And you know what? He calls it. He calls the balls and the strikes.
Yeah,
And we all can change our mind. We all can make a mistake. We all can be led astray.
mhm,
And but when you get back in the right way, you have to just go, whoop, well, no, we're not going that direction anymore.
right,
He is doing so, so good. There is just so much
mhm,
on our wonderful anniversary of 250 years as a
yeah,
nation.
pretty unbelievable. I mean, there's so many things. This country is so incredibly great, and but if you don't know history and you don't know what happens in other countries over time, that and you mentioned this earlier, our young, that's been removed from them by the
Yes.
public school system. We've allowed them to take that out. So they have no idea how fortunate they are, how good it is. The fact that you can flip a switch and the light comes on. You can turn on the water faucet and the water comes out. I mean, we take these things completely. You were standing on the shoulders of giants just for those simple things. You could hop on an airplane and be across the country in 5 or 6 hours or 4 hours, right? You can get in a car that's relatively inexpensive, and it's incredible that that infrastructure exists. And you have to go to places in the world where it doesn't exist to really appreciate it. Um, those things are here not by accident because of those three principles I mentioned to you earlier,
Yes.
that the founders put in place at the beginning that they couldn't have done without researching the previous 5,000 years of history to see what worked best and what didn't. So we're the beneficiaries of that. And no place in the world has ever been able to produce something like this. but people don't know it.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And when you don't know history, you will repeat the history. And we have to get education under control,
Yep.
and abolishing. I have, I have a little bit of mixed feelings about abolishing the Department of
Mhm.
Education,
Mhm.
because by having a Department of Education, you can set some federal standards, right?
Mhm.
Um, but they need to be good standards,
Mhm.
not what has been implemented. No Child Left Behind. That was like one of the worst things that ever happened. And that was under a so-called Republican. No Child Left Behind, my God. And the new math, they're dumbing down the kids in America, and it's all by design so China can rise up, or India and other countries. And it is so important. So part of me wants, and give me some feedback on that, because
No, yeah.
part of me
Here's
wants the federalization so that you don't have states like Oregon
Mhm.
that say, "Well, we don't have to do any tests, and you're going to graduate. We're just going to babysit you until you're 18 and you'll graduate high school, and you're going to be dumber than a rock."
See, here's the problem. I'll use Milton Friedman, I think, spoke to this gigantism, right? One of the reasons why the founders wanted to limited the federal government to a very few things they could do is you wanted the 50 states to be the factories of that stuff. So let's say you institute something at the federal government level. Now all 50 states have to do that. Now you might like that now, but what about when some lunatic gets elected? Which, let's face it, it's inevitable. We're
We've
going to
had
have
it.
another lunatic. It may not be a while,
Right.
hopefully. Maybe you and I will escape the planet before that another Biden comes along. But another Biden's coming along. That's just what's going to happen, right? And when it does, then there's 50 states that are going to get hosed. It's better to let the 50 have their own deal. And then when they botch it, they can do like you did. You can just leave. And that's, I think the founders were brilliant with that.
Yes.
So if Florida's doing great things, or name it, or Texas, or Tennessee, or Utah, whatever, then you can look at what they're doing and you say, oh, that works. We'll do that. Or we're going to keep on going down the California hellhole. Then people have an opportunity. Well, I'll just leave, because the United States goes south. Where the hell are you going to go? You don't have any place to go.
There is nowhere to go, truthfully.
Right. Yeah. I mean, eventually it all goes to hell because it's all reliant on the United States.
Yeah, it's
Um,
true.
so that would be my central argument. As much as I hate to see Oregon go to hell, if it has to go to hell, and the people that live there keep putting up with it, although I'm going to come back to that in a second, then that so be it. But at least I can bail out. But here's the thing, and here's the maybe call me Pollyanna, call me the optimist. I don't believe that Oregon is as blue, or why, or any of these states are as blue as we all think,
I don't either.
because the cheating in the voting has been so massive. I saw something the other day. Now maybe the guy's exaggerating, but there's like 800,000 people registered to vote in Oregon that like are illegitimate. 800,000 states only got 6 million people. So if you take that out of the equation, plus I have to tell you this since you left, Sonny, I'm telling you, all of a sudden there's not much traffic here. Now, why is that? I've driven to Eugene, but my wife and I are both looking around. Where are they at? Right? You drive through downtown, like no traffic. Rush hour, yeah, there's traffic, but not like before. I'm telling you, people have self-deported here, a huge amount. Um, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with the election. But man, I'm telling you, I don't think this state's nearly as blue as people think. And I'm not sitting here saying it's flaming red, but most people are not crazy. They're
Yeah.
just not. Um, so it's going to be interesting.
Well, it is going to be interesting, and I agree with you. There are to hear Oregon say, "Oh yeah, we've got 800,000," and it's actually only like 4.5 million people in the state of Oregon. It's not 6; it's like 4.5 million people, and it's nearly a quarter of the registered voters that shouldn't be on there. You know, for all I know, I'm still on the voter roll. I have no idea, but I am registered to vote in Florida,
Mhm.
and I look forward to that. You know, but it's you need to fight no matter where you are. You
No.
know, you do need to pay attention and do your civic duty and vote and all of that. But I'll tell you, I pay attention to what Oregon is doing. You know, we're invested in Oregon, even though we're not living there. We're invested there, and that might change. But
Well, I love all 50 of my states. I mean, I love the United States.
oh
I
yeah,
want all of them to do great, you know?
yes,
I think the competition between the states is one of the things that makes us unique and great because if you don't behave, the other state next door, like look at the Chicago Bears getting ready to be the Indiana Bears.
oh
You
yes,
can't make it up, right? But
oh no, I know it.
but actions have behaviors have results.
They do.
You know, these are the things that progressives don't seem to get their head around. You want to raise the minimum wage to $20 an hour? All the fast food companies are fleeing California. Now there's like no jobs there and stuff. Like In and Out moved their headquarters to Tennessee, among
Well,
others.
yes, and you know, like Dutch Brothers
Mhm,
left Oregon. So many companies have left Oregon,
mhm,
and not just the people, but you also have. I was reading about a report that came out in Portland. The top like 20 top high rise buildings have lost 70% of their value.
yeah,
That is equals property
it
taxes, you
is
know?
astonishing. I
It
mean,
is
Sonny, it's
astonishing. And
uh,
yet the governor of Oregon wants the people to fund a stadium to bring a baseball team in.
I saw that. I
You
laughed
know,
when I saw it.
hello? What are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? When you have all of the, yeah, I'm just going to squat right here and defecate and you can buy your ticket, step over it, pal,
In the meantime,
God,
you
who
know
the
the
hell's going to go?
and the Blazers are looking to leave. Did you hear that?
Yeah, it's
You
so
know,
bad.
so
Who wants to go?
yeah, they don't want to say it out loud, but let's face it, who wants to move a business of any kind into Portland? I have no idea if you're going to enforce the law. Even if you say it, I need like 5 or 10 years to see you do it now because I don't believe you. I'm going to sink all this money in this place. Look at how you screwed all those businesses that were there before.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, screwed them. I mean, you got family businesses that were there for decades. I can't remember when it was a furrier. They specialized in furs, and all the
Yes.
animal rights fiends came out and ran them out of business. Place had been there since like the 1800s or something, right? I remember going there as a kid. I didn't buy anything, but I remember I was fascinated. I walked by. It's a beautiful store, great
Oh,
family.
I would have loved to have gone in there. I would have
Oh yeah,
bought one if I could afford it.
yeah, yeah. Ran them out of town, right? And or ran them out of business. So, so why in the world would you trust that? They've cost themselves probably a generation to fix that. A generation of good policy and right kinds of politicians in
Yeah,
office.
yeah.
No one's going to believe you. So, and you're right. That's another point. You're looking at spending money in the baseball team when you got people defecating in the streets and you haven't figured that out. And when you go there, by the way, it's incredible how quiet it is. I drove through downtown probably about a month ago. I was like, it's cleaned up, but nobody's there because you
So
ran off.
let's see, was that the illegals?
Um, I,
Is there less traffic because, I've heard there's a couple million people that have left.
I think it's
I,
both. I think, yeah, first of all, you have people, regular citizens have left the state. So you have
yeah,
that, who just
yeah,
can't take it anymore. Then you have illegals who, well, now that Trump's here, we got to get out of Dodge. We can't get any more freebies or whatever. So they're out. And then the businesses are saying, well, nobody's here and there's too much crime to keep being here. So they're closing down. So
yeah,
the occupancy rates at downtown Portland are, I can't remember, they're
yeah,
super low. And then you have people that are paying leases. Well, you got to keep paying the lease. So we really don't know how low yet. So the businesses aren't there anymore, but they're still paying the lease. So when the lease term expires and then nobody re-ups the thing, we're going to really find out just how low it is. It's awful. And when you talk to the media, this is the thing that cracks you, Sonny, when the leadership of Portland talks to the media, they are so afraid of the C word. They never say the C word, which is crime. They got every excuse and reason in the world why the business economy is this, is that, it's COVID, and people haven't come back. It's everything except the crime. No, dude, it's one thing. It's people are afraid to go down there.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And and Trump says, well, okay, you don't want us here. You don't want us to come and help. Okay, we won't. And then the courts, the judicial activists is crazy.
Oh.
But I sure love our president. And there
Oh.
are plenty of very good states in our country. We just have a handful that are, it's less than half. I say a handful, it's less than half. And
well, this is the thing, though, too. If you take out the major cities in all of these states, you will find they're conservative. If you took 2 or 3 counties out of Oregon, the rest of it's conservative.
absolutely.
You do the same thing with Washington State, the same thing with California. Every one of these states is at bottom. Even Illinois. Illinois is a conservative state. It's just they got that one county up there that houses Chicago. I can't think of the name of it. I should know that. But Cook County. Take Cook County out, you got a wonderful state. So and if you fix the mail-in ballot and all that kind of stuff, you might find they're all conservative or at least moderate.
Well, it has to be. I read, I saw like a headline that was it California? California had 6 more, or somewhere had 4 or 6 more congressmen than they should have because of counting the illegals in the census. And the illegals, Trump tried to fight that. And the Supreme Court did not, they actually allowed the illegals to be counted in our census. And that's wrong.
Was that a recent ruling? Because I missed that one.
That was when our census was done in 2000.
Oh, back then. I got you.
Right. Yeah, back then. And it was before the census was done. And there was a court case. Mm-hmm. And I went, oh my gosh, he lost the court case, because you should not be. Yes, we need to know who the people are in our country, but you don't base illegals or illegals. And they shouldn't be here.
Well, for purposes of apportionment, you should not count unless you're a citizen.
Yes.
Period. And I think that is up for, that's going to be relooked at coming up here.
That needs to be looked at. And Congress, frankly, can fix it, and they have the power to do that. Yeah. And make it that they can only be counted, only lawful citizens.
Yeah. No, yeah. Well, we need a big win here in November, and and that means all of us have to go be great foot soldiers wherever we are and make it happen. So, my friend, I can't believe it, but we're coming up on an hour. So we're going
time flies. It always does.
How do we do this? Well, go ahead.
Thank you for having me. And hey, everybody. Lori and Marjorie and Carol, and I don't know who else was there. Thank you for your comments. It was all wonderful to read them. I've missed this. It's wonderful to come in every now and then and say hi.
Well, I know it's getting late for you too. It's like almost 10 o'clock. It just occurred to me.
Yes.
So I appreciate you coming out, having a cup of coffee, staying up late. It's so much fun to get to rock with you once again and do this. And we'll reach out periodically and bring you in. And I just appreciate you, Sonny, for getting me involved in this. I never would have done it without you. So there is that too. And I'll be connecting you downstream in this other project as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Good night, everybody. See you soon.
Night.
Good night.